So different approaches, different techniques for elicitation. On a broad level, this is what I think, this is what we created a good few years ago. Um, this is basically a qualitative side of things and a quantitative side of things. Just to let you know, before we delve deeper, this is something as an extra thing, which is what we have done. It's not provided by IABA, BA, BOC, or whatever. So this is just so qualitative and quantitative, the two different types of elicitation. So your qualitative aspects are, for example, interviews, workshops, observations, scenarios, prototyping. These give you a qualitative aspect of things. So you still get data, but that is more driven by how users perceive or their preferential ways of thinking, or one person's view of things, one person's experience, or 10 person's experiences. Whereas the quantitative way of things is here, volumes matter. When you send out questionnaires, you're not sending 10 people or 5 people, you're sending it to thousands of people. So you'd like to get the volumes there. So out of 50,000 questionnaires that you send, you might get back about 3,000, for example. So you would, and also the point is, you then need to analyze the data, and that is basically driven by the number, the percentage of people said this, blah, blah, blah. So here, with an interview, it is not about the number of people, the volumes, it's a value. So you might interview at best 6 people per user group. That's what the user experience research says. It says if you really want to get rich insights from a person, you need to have interviews, one-on-one interviews with at least 6 people belonging to that user profile. So same user profile, same demographic, same experience level, same education background, same value system, same attitudes, blah, blah, whatever it is. With that set of user profile, if you can interview up to 6 people, you would uncover about 73 to 80% of the insights, right? So from the 7th, even if you include 7 people in that, 7, 8, 9, 10, if you did 10 people, still you will not be able to get to 100%. So you might as well just stop at 6 people. So it is like that, that's why it's called subjective qualitative analysis. And the same with SPR, special purpose records, activity sampling. These are more of quantitative. These are actually trying to do with the data, the volumes, whereas other ones have to do with the qualitative. We'll talk about each of these in greater detail now. So when you talk about interviews, one-on-one, it builds rapport, very confidential. It is basically between you and the other person because it's one-on-one. And most often, we'll talk about this later. I'm going to actually walk you through the interviews and all of these in detail. It gives you a perspective into some of the things as we discussed, I think, some political aspects, things which people do not tell otherwise. They would disclose you because of the rapport that you establish, the relationship that you establish with the interviewee. They would be willing to disclose some information, political information, confidential information, which they would not otherwise share. And that's, for example, I was talking about that. Remember, I was talking about the interview with one of the senior stakeholder where this is the strategic innovation group was formed, and they were talking about having this 90 people forming a team and all that. That's all good until I actually got to understand what they were doing, because they want to get rid of the IT support team and the 18 people and the huge server rooms that they were there, huge infrastructure to support it, huge budgets every month going out to the organization. They want to just cut rid of all of these and then just outsource this to a technology company, which would put all of that into cloud. That's the key driver, but it's not obvious before. But I found it through the one-on-one interview with this head of the SIG, the Strategic Innovation Group. So that's because the rapport, you establish a rapport, and then they slowly open up and they say that, anyway, off the record, this is the reason why we are doing that. Obviously, I won't put that in the report. And then observation, see what really happens. So this is basically when some people do their job. So this is called observation. And you try and look at how they're doing things. So for example, surgeons performing a surgery, if you want to understand the contextually, what kind of machines they would use, what kind of technologies involved, how the work gets done within the context of performing surgery, you won't go yourself there and ask. Maybe that's what in-camera surgeries, you would try and get access to the videos of some of the surgeries being done. Then you see how they're performing the things, how how critical the minimal workflow for them is, getting the equipment, and then looking at the instrumentation, the ECGs and everything else, measuring the vital statistics of the person, keeping it stable. All of this, you look at the whole environment of performing surgery, right? And then you know how things really happen there. Obviously, you don't interrupt there and then and ask them questions, but later when you have some time with the doctors or surgeons, then you can ask, what is it you're doing here? Can I know why you're doing that? How would that help you take a decision as to what you would need to do to the patient next, blah, blah, blah. Right? So that's called observation. And then again, they have got its own benefits and its own, we'll talk about it later. Workshops, again, gives you a broad overview and consensus. You'll get the buy-in, very important for taking a decision quickly. You don't have to really send 10 emails and 100 calls, but if you get those 5-6 people into the room and then have a quick workshop for about 45 minutes, this is the agenda, this is the thing which we are not sure, this is where there is a conflict in opinion. You say that, and then you say, let's take a decision. Yeah, it's not so immediate that it's not the next second they'll take a decision. They might actually discuss that. They would say that by the end of the workshop, it's understood that they would take a decision. They have to take a decision, at least towards the end of the workshop session. So, and then focus groups identifies views of the customer. Views, very, very different from the user testing I was talking about, where it's all about the performance tasks and everything, how they do things, whereas focus groups is a marketing thing, more of your customer marketing thing, where they talk about their wishes and their want. Oh, how much would you, if I were to develop a mouse like this, would you buy this? Yeah, I will buy this. No, I won't buy this. I don't like mice. I don't use it. I use the laptops or the desktops trackpad. Okay, how much would you pay for this? If I were to sell you this one, how much are you willing to pay for this mouse? 10 pounds, 40 pounds, 60 pounds. And then, so essentially what it is actually telling their views and their preferences, their opinion. Do you like this mouse in black color? No, I want it blue. I want red. I want pink. I love pink. I'm a feminist. I like pink color. Oh, perhaps we might need to have different colors to match to the. So what is this leading to? This focus groups are basically something like a views. Now, imagine you created a pink mouse, go to the same person, they might not buy it. They might not use it. So the persons who are actually saying, I will buy it, I'll put 60 pounds, I'm ready to buy this mouse. And you create that mouse later after about 3 months, you put it into the market for 60 pounds, nobody would buy it. So there is a huge difference between what people say they would do and what actually they do. So focus groups have to be taken exactly in that sense. You need to take them with a pinch of salt. Exactly. So you should not, that's why there is when you talked about customer experience, which is good, marketing and all that is really good. Customer experience side of things is good. I have my own respect for that. Absolutely important. Marketing aspect is important, everything. But then when you talk about the product development and product management, product selling, it's totally different. And that's the user experience side of things, where you're talking about users, not customers. This is the usage concept you're talking about. This ability to the ergonomic handle and the usage of how usable it is. And it's actually driven by how they're using this mouse in a day-to-day life. This you can only get when you try and see things being done or being in use by the people as they do things. You cannot get these kind of ideas by looking or by asking people, do you like contours? Yeah, I love contours, they say. I hate contours. I don't like black color. I don't like wheels. They're very, very ugly. They look ugly. These kind of views are expressed just like that. That people left, right, and center, they express views. What use is it? So when you talk about, that's why I actually kind of wary about these focus groups and this kind of marketing kind of things about a product initially. Once the product is formed, obviously you need to actually know the value proposition. You understand the features of the product already because it's already developed, and then you come up with the benefits angle to it. You can sell it better. That's where the marketing after product development is done. But before that, if you're trying actually take decisions about the features and the designs of your product based on focus groups and the marketing studies, then you're doomed to fail, because that's the worst thing to do. No, I think we need to be very clear about the objectives, the audience, what you want to get out of it. So it's totally two different poles apart. what you're trying, I'm not discounting marketing or the focus groups, the market research, I'm not discounting at all. What I am wary about is if you're trying to use the market research and the focus groups to understand the user behavior, user experience aspect of your product design, totally fail, because the design is based on the context of usage, context of the environment of usage, how they use current products, what kind of environment they are, what is the profile that they have got, what kind of experience they've got with a similar application, similar products, right? What are the key drivers for them to use this? What is the context? Are they using it on a desk? Are they using it on are they putting it on the hand and using it? So all of these are important for you to know how people would use. You can't, focus groups wouldn't give all this information. They would just give information about do you like this? Yes, I love it. Do you want it? Yes, I would want to. Do you want to buy it? Will you buy it? I will buy it. That's the kind of thing that you'll get. So how are they going to help you to design the intricate designs of your product features? Could never be done based on the market research of a few people who, for all your research that you've done, perhaps would not even fall into the sweet spot of your so-called user profile, the target audience. So you might actually totally end up with the wrong set of user, or not even user, they're customers. Exactly, that's another thing, they're customers, they're not consumers. People who buy your product may not necessarily the people who would use your product. So you need to be very clear about it. That's what most people don't get it. They think that it is okay, I'm addressing the same people. That's fine for selling, and for marketing, initial marketing, it's fine that you are trying to address the customers or the potential customers, because they're going to buy your product. They're the purchasing. They've got the power to purchase it. They've got to take a decision about whether to buy this product or not. When it comes to the actual usage of the product, perhaps, I mean, if it, most cases, perhaps it could be the same set, the people who are using it and the people who bought that. But in some cases, it might be a situation where the people totally different, completely different profile, different target segment, different education background, different thinking, different applications of usage, different contexts of usage, everything totally different. In that case, it doesn't help to just base your design on the customers, because who bought it is not the one who's using it. So you need to be very clear about this. Again, scenario is very important. As I was saying, you actually give a scenario saying that you're in the bakery, you're now heading up this bakery, you've got this huge demand, you've got some dough here. How would you be able to create this products out of this? What decisions would you like to create? Would you like to take in terms of your product line? How would you get the people? How much about delivery? So basically, this is the scenarios. There's a kind of role plays that you would like to do. Again, these are really helpful if you are coming up with an idea into the market, a concept. So to get people's views and their opinions and the experiences, it's good to have some scenarios laid out. And prototyping actually is basically like you're actually creating a prototype of the end product, because end product might take a couple of years to create. So as a quick win, to just show something that you can get the feedback from the people, you can create a prototype or a POC. I was talking about the Flash application that we created, which is actually based on the actual .NET based product. But if you developed it in .NET, it would have taken at least 6 months, 7 months for us to come up with the features. But we created that quickly in Flash because there's no database, nothing. So we created this Flash version of that of the financial planning application, and because it works and pretty much feels like how you've got the end product. So it's rich. So we used that into that extent as a product, and conducted the usability test for that, user testing. And in terms of the quantitative approach, I would like to continue with this, and then perhaps we will close it. After that, we have got a lot of deep dive sessions for each of those. We'll go through that. So we'll try and spend some time in the next class when you can go through each of those, so you'll get a better idea for each of them. Yeah. So those are the qualitative aspects that we just discussed. These are the interviews, observations, workshops, focus groups. They're not about the volumes. It's not about how many people you interviewed. It's not about 1,000 people that you interviewed. You cannot obviously do that. So, and focus groups is the same thing. You cannot obviously do a research of 10,000 customers of yours. So you actually get about 5 to 10 people of representing your sample customers population, and then you get into the group and you get that. So, and same with prototyping, it's about what they say about this prototype, the interaction, the navigation, the presentation, the content, the organization. This is what they say about, you're trying to understand their experiences, their views and preferences. It's not about 10,000 people saying this is wrong or this is right. So these techniques, the qualitative approaches, have got that sense of value coming in from a smaller set of people, looking at qualitative aspect, like as I mentioned, the presentation, the quality of content, the navigation, the way you click on something, the interaction, all of these, and that would actually essentially what I call as experience. The user experience aspect of your product is what comes out in the qualitative approach, because you can then go deeper, you can understand why something is not happening. And that's where interviews actually gives you not just the problem, but you can actually understand the rationale. You can dive deeper. Why do you think so? What happened then, right? When did this happen? Where did this happen? Where were you using this before? Were you using this product in your office at work, or were you using in the field? When did this happen? Give me an instance when this happened. About 5 days ago. Okay. So was it raining then? Was it hot? What was the weather like? You can ask a lot of questions to understand the context of usage, right? So you can you can actually go deeper and deeper. You can probe, you can understand this overall qualitative aspect of the behaviors and the solution ideas that they're talking about, not just the superficial. Okay, do you like it? Yes. 1,000 people say yes. Okay, that's fine. That's all it says. It doesn't actually, you can't go any deeper in terms of the why, when, where, and all that when it comes to the questionnaire, which is what we're going to discuss now. So that's the qualitative aspect of things, which actually you can delve deeper. You can get rich, context-rich information. Whereas with quantitative approaches, we've got a similar set of approaches or techniques. But these ones, again, are effective in their own right. I'm not saying they're not effective, but then when it comes to these, volumes matter. They talk about the data, they give loads of data. They're talking about things like you can understand where the problem is, but perhaps you don't understand the root cause of it, why, and then perhaps even the context around it. So for example, questionnaires, the surveys that you send out, right? Good for limited information from loads of people. Lots of people can collect. Can be hard to formulate. It's difficult to formulate a questionnaire because you need to think 100 times how you can write a question and what are the options that you give below that. Should be multiple choice question, should be not. Often you can't really have open-ended questions because people don't have time. So you need to be keeping most closed-ended questions, maybe one or two. What do you think about this? Could be one thing, and for that, not many people will come back. It has got its own advantages. You'll get answers in thousands, but in terms of response rates, very, 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 very minuscule. So you send out 100,000 questionnaires, either through the website or the print format or through the post, and you get maybe 100 out of those with follow-ups. Did you send the questionnaire? Did you sign it? Did you send the survey? Did you fill up the survey? Please fill up the survey. Please fill up the survey. So you kind of prompt them. You follow it up with 10 calls. Maybe you go to the people, ask them what is it, then they will come, okay, fine, and then they'll quickly do something and then say. Another tricky thing is whatever they say that they do or they think might not be real thing. You can't even double check, right? You can't even validate. So that's another problem there. So the first thing that is asked there, people just will say tick tick tick. It's like the first thing that they would come across, click on that, click on that, click on that. They don't even perhaps think about what the option really is saying. So a lot of those problems with these survey questionnaires. But yeah, it has got some advantages that you can at least get overall view about how things are with being perceived or being received from the people. Special purpose records, staff records. So people do it themselves, but then activity sampling is when people do it themselves, and special purpose record is, for example, like a diary that you can note how many people have come in. It's like the shop security persons are trying to do this one, right? So how many people, footfalls, they do the clicker to denote, to get a track of how many people have come into the shop. So based on the footfall. So every time you go through that, they actually do this click, 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 and that goes from 4 zeros all the way to 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it goes till about 9,999, that clicker. So you can actually get to see, depending on how many, basically that's what we call as in retail as the footfalls of people. So that's something it's done by a staff or a team member or a colleague. So this job of doing this special purpose record in terms of number of people coming is done by the staff, whereas activity sampling is something that is done by the clients themselves. So you actually ask people to have been on COVID, for example, in the last few months, people who have got the virus and who have kind of fought it out and or escaped the virus later, who turned negative later. You ask them to record what they've been doing, what kind of diet they have taken, what activities have they done since morning, did they engage in any physical activity, what was it, walking, was it jogging, was it just getting down the steps, how many times did they walk up and down, what kind of food they have had. Food diary, for example, is they would be asked to maintain a food diary, what kind of diet they've been taking, asked to write the contents, the ingredients of that, blah, blah, blah. So this is basically what we call as an activity. And whereas these people themselves do that, the end users, the patients, and the people who consume this, or the people who actually take this. Again, it has got its own advantages, its own disadvantages, but it's again not on a mass scale. But then it doesn't give you the insight in terms of why something is happening the way it is. What are the ways you can come out of it and all that. For that, again, you need to use other techniques. But this again gives you some kind of a broad level understanding of what is happening. Document analysis, on the other hand, is basically again to just go through the reports, go through some of the documents already, manuals, user study guides, reference manuals, and all these things of the products that you've already got. So this would give you some kind of indication as to what are the features and things like that. But again, it's not really giving you the rationale of why something is going the way it should be. It shouldn't be otherwise.